Most people believe money is neutral. You earn it, you spend it, you save what's left. If you're responsible, things should work out. That belief feels sensible. It's also wrong. For a large portion of people, money isn't just failing to help them. It's actively working against them. Not because they're careless, not because they lack discipline, but because the systems around money are designed in ways that quietly drain, delay, and distort how wealth actually grows. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's not about secret villains in boardrooms. It's about incentives, structure, and time. And once you see how those pieces fit together, it becomes hard to unsee. This essay is about why money feels harder than it should, why doing the right things often doesn't seem to move the needle, and why many people feel stuck despite working more than ever. More importantly, it's about how to stop letting your money work against you. 1. The default financial path is not built for you. If you do what you're told from an early age, your financial life follows a predictable script. Go to school, get a job, earn a paycheck, pay your bills, save a little if you can, retire someday. That path isn't random. It was shaped during a time when one income could support a household. Pensions were common, housing was cheap relative to wages, and long-term employment was the norm. That world no longer exists. But the script hasn't been updated. Today, wages have largely stagnated while costs have climbed. Housing, healthcare, education, and childcare take up a much larger share of income than they did decades ago. Job security is weaker. Benefits are thinner. Risk has been pushed from institutions onto individuals. Yet the advice hasn't changed much. Budget carefully. Save more, work harder. The problem is that this advice assumes the system is neutral. It isn't. The default financial path extracts value from you at every stage. Taxes are taken before you see your paycheck. Inflation erodes what's left. Fees skim off savings. Interest works against you when you borrow and barely for you when you save. If you never question the defaults, you spend your life swimming upstream. 2. Inflation is a silent tax you rarely feel until it's too late. Inflation doesn't feel like theft. That's why it's effective. Prices don't usually double overnight. They creep. $1 here, a few cents there. Coffee goes from $2 to $3 to $5. Rent ticks up each year. Groceries feel a little lighter for the same money. Over time, the value of your money shrinks. If you keep cash sitting still, it's moving backward. This matters more than most people realize. If inflation averages 3% a year, money loses about half its purchasing power over 24 years. At 7%, it takes just 10 years. That means saving money without growing it is not conservative, it's risky. Yet many people are encouraged to park their money in places that barely outpace inflation, if at all. Traditional savings accounts, low-yield products, or even checking balances meant to feel safe. Safety is an illusion when purchasing power is falling. Inflation rewards those who own assets and penalizes those who rely on cash and wages. If you don't deliberately position your money to grow faster than inflation, you're falling behind even if your balance never drops. 3. The banking system profits from your inaction. Banks don't make most of their money from helping you save. They make it from lending and fees. When you deposit money, the bank uses it. They lend it out, invest it, and earn returns far higher than what they pay you. You might earn a fraction of a percent. They earn many times that. The difference is profit. From the bank's perspective, the ideal customer is predictable, passive, and uninformed. Someone who keeps money sitting still, uses credit regularly, pays interest, and doesn't question small fees. Overdraft charges, account maintenance fees, foreign transaction fees, late fees, each one seems minor on its own. Together, they quietly drain billions from consumers every year. None of this requires malicious intent. It's simply how the business model works. If you treat your bank as a neutral partner, your money will underperform. You have to be intentional, or the incentives will default against you. For debt is structured to keep you paying, not escaping. Debt isn't inherently bad, but most consumer debt is designed to last. Credit cards are the clearest example. Minimum payments are set low enough to feel manageable, but high enough to stretch repayment over years or decades. Interest compounds aggressively. A balance can linger far longer than expected. The same logic applies to many loans. Mortgages front-load interest. Auto loans depreciate faster than they amortize. Student loans can grow even while you make payments. Debt turns time against you. When you borrow, you're pulling future money into the present. The cost is that your future income becomes less flexible. Choices narrow, risk increases. People often blame themselves for being bad with money when they're actually trapped in structures optimized for long-term extraction. Understanding how debt works doesn't make you weak, it gives you leverage. The paycheck cycle keeps you busy, not wealthy. A steady paycheck feels like security. In reality, it often creates dependency. Most people exchange time for money. When time stops, so does income. This makes them highly sensitive to disruption. A job loss, illness, or unexpected expense can unravel years of progress. The paycheck cycle also discourages long-term thinking. Bills are monthly, pay is bi-weekly. Planning beyond the next few months feels abstract. This isn't accidental. When your energy is focused on short-term survival, you have less capacity to build systems. Invest strategically or question assumptions. You stay busy, you stay compliant. Wealth, by contrast, comes from ownership, leverage, and compounding over time. These require upfront effort and delayed gratification, which the paycheck cycle actively undermines. 6. Consumer culture is designed to absorb your surplus. Even if you manage to earn more, save more, and avoid major debt traps, there's another force working against you: consumption. Modern consumer culture is extraordinarily efficient at separating people from their money. Advertising is personalized, constant, and emotionally tuned. Convenience removes friction. Credit removes delay. Spending no longer feels like spending. It feels like tapping a screen. Lifestyle inflation quietly expands to fill any increase in income. A better phone, a nicer car, more subscriptions. Each upgrade feels reasonable in isolation. Over time, your financial baseline rises, leaving little room for wealth building. This doesn't mean you should never enjoy your money. It means you should be aware of how aggressively enjoyment is being sold to you. 7. Financial advice is often misaligned with reality. Much mainstream financial advice is oversimplified or outdated. Just save 10%, cut out lattes, buy a house as soon as you can. These slogans ignore context, income level, location, debt burden, risk tolerance, timing. They also ignore incentives. Many advisors are compensated for selling products, not outcomes. Media advice is optimized for broad appeal, not individual effectiveness. Good financial decisions are situational. What works for one person at one stage can be harmful for another. Blindly following generic advice can keep you stuck while making you feel virtuous. 8. Time is the most important variable you're not taught to use. Compounding is often described, rarely felt. Small advantages sustained over time matter more than dramatic moves made late. A modest investment started early can outperform aggressive savings started decades later. The same is true in reverse. Small leaks, small fees, small inefficiencies compound negatively. Time amplifies structure. If your financial setup is working against you, time makes it worse. If it's working for you, time becomes your ally. Most people don't lose because they make one catastrophic mistake. They lose because they accept a structure that quietly underperforms for decades. 9. Why this feels personal even when it isn't. Money struggles carry shame. People internalize outcomes that are largely structural. If you're behind, you assume you failed. If you're stressed, you assume you're irresponsible. This emotional framing keeps people from asking better questions. It's easier to blame yourself than to challenge a system. But recognizing that money is working against you isn't about avoiding responsibility. It's about placing responsibility where it belongs. You still have agency. You just need accurate information. 10. Making money work for you starts with awareness. The first shift isn't tactical. It's mental. Stop assuming the default is neutral. Question where your money sits, how it moves, who benefits, and why. Ask what grows, what decays, and what compounds. Look at fees. Look at interest. Look at opportunity cost. Money doesn't care about effort. It responds to structure. When you change the structure, the results follow. 11. Redesigning your financial environment. You don't have to overthrow the system to improve your position within it. Small changes matter. Automating investments so growth happens without constant decision-making. Choosing accounts that minimize fees and maximize yield. Paying attention to how debt amortizes. Separating spending money from long-term capital. These aren't flashy moves. They're structural ones. They shift money from being a leaking bucket to a growing asset. 12. Ownership changes everything. At a certain point, the key difference between those who struggle and those who don't is ownership. Owning assets that produce value. Businesses, investments, intellectual property, skills that scale. Ownership decouples income from hours worked. It introduces leverage. It allows compounding to work in your favor. This doesn't require massive wealth. It requires intention. Even small amounts of ownership, sustained over time, change trajectories. 13. The long view most people never take. Short-term thinking is understandable. Life is expensive and unpredictable. But long-term thinking is powerful precisely because it's rare. When you start evaluating decisions based on where they lead in 10, 20, or 30 years, priorities shift. So do trade-offs. You become less reactive, less manipulable. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "What does this cost me over time?" 14. Money is a tool, not a scorecard. One reason money works against people is that it becomes emotional. Status, comparison, fear, guilt. These emotions drive behavior that benefits marketers, lenders, and platforms far more than individuals. When you treat money as a tool instead of a judgment, decisions get clearer. Tools are meant to be used deliberately. 15. You don't need to win the game, just change how you play. The financial system isn't fair, it isn't kind, it isn't designed to make you wealthy by default, but it is predictable. Once you understand how incentives align, where value leaks, and how time amplifies outcomes, you can make better moves. You don't need perfection, you need direction. Money will either work quietly against you or steadily for you. The difference is rarely dramatic in the moment. It shows up years later. The earlier you notice, the more power you have. If money feels harder than it should, you're not imagining it. You're operating inside a system that rewards awareness and penalizes passivity. The good news is that awareness is learnable. Once you see how money actually behaves, you can stop fighting it blindfolded and start using it with intent. That's when money stops being an obstacle and starts becoming leverage. If this video made you rethink how money really works, that's the point. Most people are told to work harder, save more, and hope it all works out. Legacy finance exists to show you why that advice falls short and what actually builds long-term leverage instead. On this channel, we break down money the way it really behaves, the systems behind it, the habits that quietly compound, the mistakes that keep people stuck without realizing why. If you're serious about building something that lasts, not just getting by, subscribe and stay with us. Your money already has a job. Make sure it's working for you, not against you.